Have you ever been in a situation whereby you want to say something and you know that what you want to say or how you want to be would heal you, perhaps someone else, perhaps even the world? We have a tendency to violate our own standards so that we can satisfy others, or maybe, as the saying goes, not rock the boat so that we can fit in a little box that people want us to fit into. I'm Toyin Okanuga. I'm the author of Hush to Roar. I am the #1 new release best-selling author of Hush to Roar, and my story is about love, childhood trauma, but most importantly, my recovery. And every month, once a month, I will be doing story time where I read a piece from my book and explain the context of it. So today it is about being silenced. So it's chapter 14 and it's being silenced. Just a little summary about this book. It's my story that has primarily to do with the adverse experiences I endured as a child. And if you've watched videos that I have recorded in the past, you will realize that it also entails sexual abuse from the age of 12 until I turned 15. But I'd like to tell you that the recovery is key, and if I can recover from the most horrific experience, so can you. So at the end of, or once a month, I will be doing story time where I am comfy, and yes, I am in bed, just to read an aspect from my book and explain where I'm coming from. So sit tight and listen to one part of chapter 14, which is being silenced. I'll just have a sip of my water. Okay. Silencing occurs in many ways for many reasons. Each of us has his or her sea of unspoken words. English is full of overlapping terms. Silence is what allows people to suffer without recourse, which will enable hypocrisies and lies to grow and flourish, crimes to go unpunished. If our voices are essential aspects of our humanity, to be rendered voiceless is to be dehumanized or excluded from one's humanity. I had grown up feeling some level of shame and awkwardness now and again. I got reminded continuously in some way or another that I was different, no matter how hard I tried to fit in. I put on a facade to get by, lacking authenticity. For instance, when my half-siblings would talk about an uncle, their uncle, from their dad, if an outsider was present, I would nod and play along as if I knew who they were talking about, just so that I could fit in. I wouldn't ask any questions, just so that I could blend in and not let the visitor know we had different fathers. Being ashamed had become so ingrained in me that I couldn't bring myself to speak about having a different father to my siblings. I recall feeling another level of shame when I attended an aunt's 70th birthday celebration a few years later. There were a lot of relatives present at the party, and I observed two men, possibly in their late 60s, who took a glance at me, then looked back at each other with an expression of shock on their faces. They walked up to me, and I greeted them in the usual Nigerian way, ignoring the fact that I had just seen them look at me with so much shock on their faces. I tried not to look as confused as I was. One of them boldly said to the other, "That is her, you know, Omo Lester," the child from Leicester. I knew what they meant. Ignoring their lack of manners, I introduced myself. They nodded and asked how I was. At that point, I felt the urge to be rude, but I held back. Even though I had beautiful attire on with a brightly coloured head tie, over the course of the party, I felt ashamed as they mentioned it to more and more people, and I could feel their glances towards me. Going back home that day, I felt hurt and angry. Over the years, I learnt never to be defined by what people thought of me. The fact that I was born out of wedlock means nothing about who I am. I gave them the power to make me feel bare and ashamed. I thought, never again. Once people label us, we get negated. Once people place a label on us, we must then become what they expect us to be, belittled and ashamed of our existence. The label on us can make us feel what people want us to feel. The phrase, "as we think, so shall we be," springs to mind. If we think that we should feel the shame of our very existence, then that is what we will become. If we pay attention to what other people expect from us, or what they say our limitations should be, that's what we will believe we should be. We can't focus on what we want, because what they wish for us to be will continue to manifest in us. I had allowed those two men to place me into an identity crisis box. I'd allowed their thoughts of me to weaken me. Part of being living and breathing authenticity means living by my standards of having no guilt. I decided not to live by the standards of others who wanted me silenced over things that would bring shame to them. Dancing our dance is what makes us unique. I am not an accident. The fact that we are here matters. It's miraculous, and nothing about our lives is an accident. I learnt to stop limiting myself. Dancing my dance ensures that I don't live in a world where I seek to control it, so that my fears don't get stimulated. I learnt not to go back to reach for a reason why I couldn't attain my goals. There is freedom in feeling no shame. My confidence comes from knowing that there is something greater than me that taps me on my shoulder and keeps me going in a flow that aligns my personality with my soul. I still get embarrassed and ashamed about my existence to some degree. I did get embarrassed, particularly when other people reminded me. I knew there had to be another way. Thank you for listening to that. And there's a lot of things within what I just read, but I'll keep it sweet and short. And it's just to say, never be defined by what happened to you. Don't let people place you in an identity crisis box so that you do not bring shame to them. Raw. Because if you don't, you will always be a pressure cooker, just waiting to explode. Thank you guys for listening. And yes, that is another aspect to my story. If you want the full shebang, I will advise you to get Hush to Raw from Amazon or from my website, www.hushtораw.com. It's also available in Nigeria. The links are below. If you want a few snippets of how you can grow and how you can be transformed, they're little ebooks that would take you straight there, and they are free. They're also at the bottom. I promise you that you'll be transformed if you read Hush to Raw, because even people who have not had horrific childhood experiences, as I explained in my book, said there were things in there that they could definitely relate to. So guys, I love you, and I hope you enjoyed another storytelling moment at this time. So I love you, and remember, your inner child has a voice. Don't suppress it. Let it roar, no matter what. Yes, please continue with me on this journey. Click that subscribe button. Press that notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks, guys. Bye.